This is my kitten, Hazelnut.
No.
And she's the cutest, sweetest baby angel princess you've ever seen. I used to hate cats, but that was before Hazelnut. This is the story of how I went from staunch cat hater to ultimate Hazel lover. Our story begins almost 2 years ago. You see, my wife works at our church, and I work in a coffee roastery. I remember that day, the day that I got the text message where everything changed. But before I tell you about that day, let me go back a little bit. Growing up, we didn't have cats growing up. We only had dogs. I had a few rodents, like 2 hamsters and a ferret. So my mom didn't really like cats. Actually, my stepdad didn't either, so we never had cats. In fact, one time, I remember that our garage door was left open one night, and I remember my mom going out to switch the laundry because it was in the garage, but you had to go outside the house in order to get into the garage. We didn't have like a door connecting the garage to the actual house like I do in my house. So you had to go through the front door and then pivot 90 degrees and then walk into the garage. And I remember her going in, and she went to go switch the laundry, came back in the house, and she was flustered. She's like, "Oh my God, I gotta call animal control." And I'm like, "Well, what's the matter?" And she's like, "There's cats in the garage." And I was like, "What?" So I go out into the garage with her, while she was going to call animal control, because this was before everybody had cell phones. And sure enough, behind, I think it was the washer or the dryer, I don't know, one of those, there was a mama kitten with little tiny babies, and they were, curled up with her. And I remember her not liking them at all and calling, animal control to come get them. And that's the only I do have some memories of other cats, but I'm going to shelve those for now because they're their own stories. But coming back, that was not the only negative story that I have concerning cats and why I think I didn't like them.
You want a treat? Yeah, you want a treat? You're such a beautiful angel, and I love you.
You see, I used to have this babysitter growing up. She was pretty much one of the only ladies in the area that would babysit. And she lived down the street from me. She was an older lady, and she smoked, and she had a bunch of kids because she watched, a ton of kids. We would all go there before and after school. And the thing is she had 9 cats. 9. And a little fun fact about me is I have terrible allergies. In fact, it's so bad when I was a kid, I used to have to get these allergy shots, and I remember the needles being this long. And it got me over a fear of needles real quick. And I'm allergic to everything. You have to understand. Side note, do you see this hook? I apparently missed a loop on the curtain, and it's kind of bothering me. Okay, that actually was not planned. Anyway, so my babysitter had 9 cats. I had allergies, terrible allergies. Even to this day, my allergies are still pretty bad. Not quite as bad as they were when I was younger, but still allergic to everything: grass, dirt, pollen, dander, and even the green coffee that we roast in our roastery. I'm allergic to. So even when I roasted as a profession, I had to wear a mask because the dust would trigger my allergies super bad. And it didn't matter if I took 1,000 pills to try to combat the allergies, it just didn't help. So where does that land me with the cats? Well, you can safely assume that being in this house with all these cats, my allergies were haywire all the time. But unfortunately, I had nowhere else to go before and after school. So a lot of the time I spent outside with my buddy because I just couldn't be in the house any longer than I had to be. So growing up, I just had this, not an animosity, but an indifference to cats. I just didn't really like them. You know, I think taking on the fact that my mom didn't really like them, but also being allergic to them, I just kind of fell into that cliche of not liking cats. And so I kind of grew up with that belief that I just almost hated them, even though they had done nothing wrong to me. I know this is very meta, but as I'm editing this video, the kitten has come to join me. I think she knows that I love her and I'm making this video about her. Look at that little cute little kitten. Come on. Come on, dude.
Get off the table. Get down. Get off the table. Get down. Get down.
Okay, so fast forward years into adulthood. Now, 2 years ago, when I got the text, I have to preface that we already had a cat. My oldest daughter had given it to my second oldest daughter as a gift, and then when my second oldest daughter moved out, she gave it to my third oldest daughter to raise. So we already had a cat in the house 2 years ago. And but that cat wasn't my cat. It was my daughter's and my other daughter's cat. And so the cat was fine. It kind of kept to itself. I didn't really hold her. She kind of did her own thing. She kind of kept to herself, stuck to the room most of the time. So I really didn't have to worry about the cat, and I really didn't interact much with her. So I didn't hate that cat. I just wasn't close to it. I wasn't fond of it. And in fact, we have had a couple of cats over the years, my wife and I. We've been married 16 years, and we actually have had a couple of cats over the years, but I never felt any sort of affection for these animals. I liked the cats. I didn't mind having them in the house. The kids, they were all for the kids, and they all made me sneeze uncontrollably. But the kids were happy. The kids liked the cats, and I helped take care of them because the kids always want the pets, but they never want to actually put in the work of raising them. So, I took care of all of these different cats over the years. But it wasn't until this one in particular that I knew that I could actually love a cat. Yeah. So here it was, towards the end of April, and I'm at work. I receive a text from my wife. The text is simply a picture of a little baby kitten that they had found on the grounds of the church, out in the rocks outside of a building. And she shows me the picture and says, "Can we keep it?" Now, initially my instinct was no, but she kind of laid it on thick and said, "Well, the mom cat, the animal control is coming to take, and the 2 other siblings didn't make it. One died of malnutrition, and the other, well, to a predator bird that was near the grounds of the church. And so I acquiesced. I didn't necessarily want to, but, I'm looking at this little life form in this picture, and I'm thinking, okay, fine. Because I know that if this little kitten goes to the pound, it might make it, but, it may not make it either. So I allowed my wife to bring it home. Little did I know that this little baby kitten, this little tiny calico kitten that was just days old, would become my favorite pet I've ever had.
Coming up here, Kitten?
It's funny. I remember coming home from work that day, and sure enough, here's my wife, this little kitten carrier with this tiny little calico kitten in it. And I just remember seeing her and thinking, this is the cutest cat I've ever seen. And yeah, I thought that cats were, they were cute animals, but this one was different. Like, I wanted to hold her and to pet her and to hug her. And I'm telling you, I've never felt that way for an animal before. I don't know when it is that I knew that I loved her. I don't know if it's when we would lay down, my wife and I, at opposite ends of the bed late at night, and she would just play with little toys in between us until she fell asleep. She'd wear herself out, and we would just fall asleep around the edges of her, and she'd wake us up in the middle of the night, either pawing at us or licking our faces. Or maybe it's when she started using the litter box and I felt like she was becoming a real cat. Maybe it's when we would hold her and she would just purr like a little engine up against our chest until she just kind of nestled in there and fell asleep. Or maybe it's when we would put her in the carrier, her little playpen, and she would just cry and cry and cry. Or climb the sides and try to get out. I don't know, but yeah, I'm very fond of this cat, and I love her. And being one of those people who is kind of a dog person, like a lot of people are, like, oh, I hate cats, and dogs are way better. Dogs can do all these things. Being one of those people, and kind of slowly learning to love this little feline, it's different, and I can't explain it. I don't know why I love her so much. I don't know if it's because we adopted her and she had really no family, and we've adopted some of our kids, so maybe it's that. Maybe it's just that her siblings didn't make it and she did, so I felt like she was kind of meant for us to take. Maybe it's just because I love her little personality. She's typical calico. She's kind of feisty, and she only wants to love you on her terms. So I think that makes me love her even more. I don't know, but obviously this cat will never see this video, but yeah, I love her. She has brought so much joy to my life, even just being a cat. I mean, I've written multiple poems over the years, and she is, if not the center of them, at least a part of them, more than probably any other subject, except maybe God. But yeah, I don't know. This one's for you, Hazelnut. I love you.